Mike McCool here. I'm in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is Mayor of Front Royal, Eugene Tewalt. Recently, Gene had approached the council and was talking about things that he wants to see it get accomplished in his one-year tenure here as a mayor. He's in that special election mode where he's going to serve until the end of this year, 2020. And he had outlined some goals and things he wants to get done. So we want to talk about those today, Gene, and maybe go over the list and let you expand a little more maybe than what you've done. And so we'll just go down the list. We got a printout here of a bunch of things he talked about. Looks like the first thing you said is you want to meet with the Board of Supervisors and come up with a closer working relationship. Want to expand on that?
Well, yeah, before, when the three new members of the board was elected, I went to them and tried to set up a meeting, but they were busy as well as I was. But I want to set up a meeting with the board, or especially the three new ones, and just sit down and talk about how we can enhance our town and county relationships. It's very important that we work towards the goal for the Warren County citizenry, and we're just as much as a citizen of Warren County as they are. So whether we're in Front Royal or in Warren County, we need to address the issues we have and try to work them out the best way we can, because without sitting down and talking about issues, nothing gets accomplished. So you need to sit down and discuss them and see if we can work out any issues that we may have with one another.
Yeah, we don't want to go down and have opposite things and go down two different roads that accomplish the same event.
Well, that's the biggest thing I think we need to sit down and talk about is how can we work together for the betterment of Warren County citizenry.
Yeah, I think we need to be in sync.
Yes.
And we have been that way in the past, and it seems to float in and out as the council and the Board of Supervisors change. But we definitely have a new board with three new members. We definitely have a new board, and it's completely different than the previous board.
Oh yeah, and I think they have different views on things. And when you come up with new views and things, we need to decide on what's best for Warren County and Front Royal. And when we do that, I think it'll come out as a positive meeting, and I think we can work things out together.
Well, and I think people are somewhat confused of what the role of the town government is over what the county government is, and they think they're really they're not one and the same. But I mean, they have the same responsibilities, and they really don't. I mean, the town is very limited in its scope.
We are very limited. We're more orientated with having enterprise funds, water, sewer, electrical, garbage, and things of that nature. And we're more of a maintenance thing. And the county is a little bit different because they have the social services and all the other schools and things of that nature. So we don't get involved in those issues. But we do have a lot of things that works close together.
Right.
Because, without working those issues together, then nothing gets accomplished. So I just want to sit down, talk to them, and they may have questions, I may have questions, and try to get
on the same page.
Exactly.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the town and the sewer. That's another one of your points here is I&I. We call it inflow and infiltration. It's a big fancy word for leaking pipes.
That's true. We've had them ever since I've been with Front Royal since '74 when I came to work as Public Works Director. We've tried to work on them and do a little money, put a little money in it every year. But as the times come and go, the system gets older and older and older, and eventually we need to put a lot of money into it. We're on a consent order by the DEQ to try to cut down our I&I because sometimes we have a overrun of water and septic goes through the plant directly into the river. And so we need to make a aggressive move to try to get these things resolved. And by doing that, I'm asking the council to bring forward another $3 million out of our general reserve funds from the sewer account and go ahead and post it for $3 million to be spent, not only this year, but for the future, so that we have the money available when we have the projects ready to be, as we call it, shovel ready to get the projects moving along. And we're in the process of now receiving a new consent order from the DEQ, and hopefully by doing what we've already done and spending $3 million this year and having another $3 million reserves, then hopefully the DEQ will allow us to do the things we need to do to comply to their regulations.
So when we talk about this I&I, what we're basically saying too is that more water comes into the system than should. So we're trying to treat sewage that's really just runoff and rainwater.
Pretty much. But the problem is, when you have the old pipes in the system, they get cracks and breaks in areas where you can't get to unless you go in and televise them. So we're in the process now of doing that. We're televising them. We're checking our manholes. We're going to have a big project going this year already, but we're going to have another one coming hopefully in the near future. And when we televise, we see our problem. We go in and what we call a bladder liner. It's a bladder that goes in and it becomes. It's a set of rosins and things mixed with a bladder, and then it hardens and makes the pipes has better integrity after it's done than it had originally.
It's like putting a pipe inside the pipe.
Yes, and it really works.
Years past, everyone just took their drain pipes off their house and put it into their sewer line.
A lot of times, we went through a program when I was director that we went to every house and checked their basement to see if their suck pumps were attached. Those that were, we forced them to have them removed. Probably since that time, there's been quite a few
put back in,
connected. Yes,
that's what we called the smoke test. That's where you went around,
exactly,
and all of a sudden people got smoke coming up in their houses.
Yeah.
Well,
it got quite a few phone calls in that days.
But it shows the problem, doesn't it?
Yes, it sure does.
So we talked about infrastructure, but you talked about the sewage, which it's one of those unseen things. It's underground,
exactly,
and it's been there. Some have been there over 100 years.
Pretty close.
Quite a few things. So, but we also have our streets, our curbs, the sidewalks. I notice there's a lot of there's sidewalks go like this and lifts and people fall, and it's just the ground freezes and tree roots, and there's all sorts of things there's a lot of maintenance in that.
Well, there is, and I propose to the council that we borrow $3 million to go out and rework our infrastructure, such as, like you just said, streets. We have a bridge deck up on Stonewall Drive that still bars is showing. So that means there's getting salt down in those rebars, and eventually it's going to have a major repair. So what I'd like to do is borrow the $3 million, take the money to pay on the payback through our money that we receive each year from VDOT, which is a maintenance program, and we receive approximately $2 million a year to maintain our streets. And by doing it piecemeal, nothing gets really accomplished. But if we can go in there and do a really a great job, doing not one or two streets, but maybe 30 or 40, 50 streets, by borrowing this money and then having it on the payback on a 20-year basis, I think that we will see really a big improvement in our curb and gutter sidewalks, asphalted streets, and whatever else comes in.
You brought up we have taken on, we've paved the 14th Street Shenandoah Avenue, but yet we still have these manholes that are sinking in the ground here. A lot of them, I come driving down the road and all of a sudden, bang, it's like I fell into a pothole.
Well, that's true.
On a brand new street.
Yeah. Well,
what causes that?
Well, what's happening now, when you go out and you pull a lid off of a manhole, a lot of them has got what they call riser rings. They run from an inch to 2 or 3 inches thick.
Because they keep adding asphalt on top of asphalt, right?
And so in so doing, a lot of times when those expansion rings are removed, they don't put them back. And so whatever length of that riser ring would be, whether it's an inch or 2 inches, and that's what you get. So whenever you see one, call the Public Works or our town manager and report it, and hopefully they'll get out and put a riser ring back on it.
It seems like that they respond pretty well to complaints, but not so much on just going around fixing the problem, which is part of what you're talking about doing.
Well, that's true. Sometimes it happens, and the
squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Well,
right?
That's true, but we have a contractor in now doing a lot of this work, and probably the Public Works don't even realize that they're missing, because when the contractor leaves and the ring doesn't fit properly, they just put the ring back in and take off.
Right.
Until somebody tells them about it, sometimes they don't realize they're down that low.
Yeah. Let's move on to tourism. Let's talk about that. What's your feeling?
Well, you know,
we rely on it.
We rely heavily on tourism. I like to really work with Felicia and the new tourism board. Now, I know that most people don't realize that the county is now pitching in some money into tourism, and we've appointed a board. But I'd like to, you know, get the board and Felicia and whoever else that needs to get involved in that and trying to work up maybe a better program or enhance our tourism, but due to the fact that, like you said earlier, it brings in a lot of money to Front Royal. We have meals tax, lodging taxes, and things like that. And you'd be shocked at how much money is received from the meals tax alone that really enhances our economy in Front Royal.
Well, that brings up a couple things. I want to skip over one here, but move on to enhancing our entrance corridors, because you talked about tourism. I mentioned to you, I said, just trimming the grass. I mean, they do a beautiful job on those roads. You know, we've got flowers and trees and bushes, and it looks really nice. And, you know, just trimming the edges, how much a dramatic impact it has on just trimming the grass, you know.
Well, you know, anything we can do to enhance Front Royal. As you come in on the northern sector into Front Royal, we have two dilapidated buildings. We have one at the Riverton and Duck Street, and I don't know what they're doing out there. They got a backhoe back in the yard.
They've cleaned up the yard a little bit, but
it's really an eyesore. And then as you come across the bridge into Front Royal, and you got the property there on the right-hand side that used to be the old Dr. Side property.
Right.
I mean, it's falling down, and it really is an eyesore. So I like to see us come in and try to get some of that completely eliminated, either remove the buildings, plant grass, whatever, and work with the property owner. And then I like to see us enhance the Commerce Avenue, North Royal, South Royal with maybe more flowers, maybe flags or something flying on the electrical poles or something, just to draw the people's attention to Front Royal. And I think there's ways that we can do that, but that's why I want to sit down with the tourism board and them and maybe try to see if we can enhance some parts of Front Royal. So
we need to, like you talked about that, but, you know, we have literally millions of people come down Skyline Drive.
True.
And a lot of that is just through the town, and we don't really seem to capture much of that particular tourism dollars. As they're in their car, and all we seem to do is we want to herd them through town quickly to keep the traffic from backing up.
Well, sometimes you have to do that because of the traffic, but
we need to turn them around and make them drive through the whole town.
We need to have something in Front Royal that would draw them into the actual center part of Front Royal, whatever they may be. We need to try to find something that would bring those people downtown, because that brings the money into Front Royal through the meals tax and the lodging tax, and just, you know, they spend a lot of money in Front Royal. I mean, you don't realize how much money is spent on Main Street and there are other areas until you just go down there on Saturday and watch people go into the stores, and usually they'll come out with a bag of something. That may not be a lot, but every little bit helps.
Yeah, I think we've moved out of everybody going to the mall.
That's
you know,
true.
They're looking for the boutique operation, something different than they can't get in their town.
Exactly.
Down in the city.
Exactly.
Well, how about new businesses? How are we going to grow our economy? I mean, we need more than, you know, one horse businesses, so to speak. Create jobs. You know, what's your plan on that? I mean,
well, I'm in the process. I've talked to 4 different individuals now that I'd like to form a committee, an economic committee, to look at businesses in Front Royal and see how we can enhance those businesses. Working with Felicia again as our person that is with the sort of not an EDA, but sort of like an EDA.
Like an ad hoc
she works
committee
with
there.
us, exactly. And see if they can come up with some greater ideas that we can enhance the businesses not only on Main Street but all over Front Royal. We sort of gear to Main Street, but you know, we have a lot of areas where buildings are sitting empty, such as the old Food Line store, and even though Big Lots is going to move over there, but so that's still going to leave another store empty. So we've got a lot of stores empty there. Over in Royal Plaza, we've got several empty stores there, and other places in Front Royal. And I'm hoping that if we can get an economic development committee together, maybe in some way or another, with working with Felicia, that we can maybe get in contact with people and try to bring more businesses in. The main one that I think we need in Front Row right now, we need a better grocery store. I mean, we only have one grocery store that supplies all the food mostly in Front Row, with the exception of the corridor with Walmart. And I would love to see us work harder to get another grocery store in Front Royal, whatever it may be, but anything would be better than not having any.
Right, right. Well, I know that, we get here at the Royal Examiner, we see a lot of the news and the business things that come around the state, and localities that surround us are getting 250 jobs here, 150 jobs there, 50 jobs there. And I look at it and I'm thinking those could have just as easily come to Front Royal.
They could have. But,
and they're going to Frederick County, or they're going to Shenandoah County. And we have the location, the proximity to the city. We have the transportation. We got the river. We got the rail. And the inland port. We've got so many things good working for us. But something's lacking somewhere for people just saying, "Oh, Front Royal's the place to go." I mean, and it's probably not just one thing. Housing, the infrastructure, the broadband. All these things play into businesses relocating somewhere.
Well, it's true. I mean, we would need to work with the people and try to bring them in. There's no doubt about that. I just wonder where we're at in that position, because I really don't think that we're really going out and beating the bushes like we should to try to bring these corporations in, or businesses in Front Royal, or even in the corridor. It just seems like it. We've had some positive vibes out in the corridor, with all the businesses gone out there. But I think it can be enhanced greater if we really get to work and try to bring them in.
I can remember when Mr. Hebner was here.
Exactly.
I mean, he went and drug them in.
Steve did a very good job.
He didn't sit around and build and sit around waiting for him to knock on the door. He went all over the countryside dragging them in the door. And come on down to Front Royal.
That's true.
Yeah. That's kind of what you have to do.
That's what you got to do.
If you don't ask for the sale, you're not going to get it.
You got to sell your community to the businesses.
It is. You got to let people know.
If you don't sell and you have the things to show them that you're trying to enhance the town or the county, then it just doesn't happen.
Right, right. Well, how about pedestrians? It seems like we haven't heard much lately. Mr. Seelock was really pushing it the last year or so, and we've done quite a few things on pedestrian safety. I think the best thing we've done is the hotel is going away and the Sheets is going in there, so that'll eliminate a lot of pedestrian traffic across Shenandoah Avenue. But the town has done a lot on sidewalks, but crosswalks.
We have put new crosswalks in almost over the whole downtown corridor, and people do pay attention to those. There's some that doesn't. Some people are speeding along those corridors, and I think one way is, maybe get the PD to sort of keep more of a check in some of the downtown areas where you have a lot of the crosswalks, and see if the people would actually stopping when people are trying to cross the street. We passed a jaywalk ordinance. I don't know where we're at.
I wonder if we've ever issued a jaywalk ticket.
I really can't answer that.
I think we need to check with the chief and say, Chief, tell me how many tickets you've issued. That's pretty much how they tell about seatbelt compliance, how many tickets you wrote.
That's true.
The more you write, the less compliance you have.
But, again, it's hard to look at safety on the basis of an individual, because I watched and I'm around town a lot, being retired, and I see people and they'll stand on the street and they don't look for a crosswalk. They just dart right across the street in front of automobiles, whatever.
10 feet away from the crosswalk.
Exactly. And, I don't know how you educate people to use crosswalks. It's like a lot of things. People needs to be educated, but if you don't want to be educated, it's hard to teach them how to do things.
You can't legislate against stupidity.
But as long as we do our part in providing the crosswalks and things, then hopefully that will suffice as far as getting people to realize that they're there for a purpose, and that purpose is to help them get across the street without being hit by an oncoming vehicle.
That kind of goes into one of your other points about working with the police department and trying to make things safer in the community. another one of your goals.
Well, yeah, I think overall the town police department is a great organization. They've done a great job. Everybody can have improvements though, and when I say that, I just like to just talk to the chief and the upper echelon of the police department and see how can we make Front Royal safer for not only pedestrians but for everybody. So it's just something that I just thought maybe it would be nice to just to have a little chat every now and then with the chief and some of his higher staff and see if there's something we may bring together and maybe something we may have missed that we can help them.
The chief and the sheriff of all are proponents of community policing.
Sure.
And community policing really involves being in the community and being visible.
That's exactly right.
We've tried it. For instance, you've had officers walk down Main Street. That lasts about 2 weeks, and next thing you know, they're gone because something else urgent has come up. But it's a hard thing to do to get them into the street. I can remember years ago, every couple of days I'd have a card stuck in my door downstairs. I was here at 3 o'clock in the morning and checked your door. I mean, to me, that's community policing. Yeah, we know they were out there.
That's true. We did that back in the 70s and early 80s.
Right.
Because we had a person walk Main Street, and they'd leave a card, and they would know that they had been there during the evening hours.
Right.
So that might be another thing we may want to consider.
It may not make things safer, but it gives the impression that at least you're out there. You're available. You're not just sitting back eating donuts, right?
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
No, they don't do that anymore. You mentioned you are retired, and one of your goals is trying to bring in more these retirement communities. We have the boomers are booming to retirement, and these communities are really springing up all over the country in retirement communities because you don't need schools, you don't need this, you don't need that, and you get the tax dollars, but you don't have the expense of providing a lot of services.
Well, that's true. I was shocked. I went out into Lake Frederick about 2 months ago, and the last time I'd been there, it was only maybe 100 houses. I never saw such a development. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of people that's gone out there. And it's mostly in the one section alone. The trilogy part of it is 55 and older.
Right.
And the homes are beautiful, and they maintain them. And it's really nice. And as a matter of fact, I talked to a person I talked to him last Friday. And we sat down and discussed a piece of land that he owns here in Front Royal about doing a 55 and older community. It's not a large tract, but it's large enough to get probably maybe 20 or 30 homes, and he was very receptive to that. I've also talked to another developer, and he feels the same way, that he thinks that would also be a very good lucrative business for some of the developers to do, because like you say, we get a lot of people from Northern Virginia that wants to retire. They come to Front Royal and they want an area where they don't have to maintain. They want a small yard, or even have a POA that they have somebody to come in and mow the grass and do the whole thing. And I think it would really be a big enhancement to Front Royal if we had a real nice 55 and older community for people to come here.
Well, I know a few years ago when I was on the Planning Commission, we had passed a higher density ordinance that allows for a lot more homes per acre.
Right.
And so that's a step in the direction of doing this.
But so far, nothing has been done.
No one has stepped up to do it.
Correct.
But we have the infrastructure there. The land is available.
Right.
We have the water, sewer. We have all the tools to do it. It's just going to take somebody to get started. There's a need. We just got to tell people we're available. I think we have to go out there.
Well, that goes right back to our tourism. People who comes in and looks around Front Royal to move and buy a home in Front Royal, then I think that would be an enhancement for those people to come to Front Royal if you had a real nice 55 and older community.
Well, I've talked to people down at LD's, and they're there on the weekend. Oh, yeah, we moved here because they started off as a tourist.
Exactly.
And they said, we just loved it and fell in love with it, and we moved here. So there are people doing that.
Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of people that's bought land out in some parts of the county that was
Right.
for the just a weekend.
Sure. Now they're here full
Now
time.
they're here permanent full
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned one other thing, couple things left on your list, and I asked you when you're going to do it, and you got picked a date. So, and that's your town hall meetings. Explain what you want to do with those.
Well, the first thing I want to do is, have a town hall meeting to get people's input on issues. A lot of people's got a lot of issues they can't get answers for. And I'm hoping that if we can sit down together at a meeting, they can bring up anything they want to bring up. Sometimes we won't be able to give them the answer immediately, but if we know the question, then we can work towards the answers to those questions. I don't want it to be a meeting where people gets up and complains about everything and everything. I want some constructive.
That's a town council meeting.
Exactly. I want some constructive criticism for the town if it's something to be there, and let us work towards the goal to resolve those issues. And everybody's got issues of some sort. Some are different than others, and the first meeting I want to have is I don't want to have an agenda at the first meeting and let people just get up and begin to tell us what they want us to do or things that we can do for them. And then at the second meeting, maybe we can have the answers to some of the questions they was asked. And
so when's the first meeting?
Agenda. Well, right now I've got it anticipated on the third Thursday of February.
Okay.
And that'll be it third Thursday.
Okay.
I don't know the date right offhand.
All right.
And hopefully we have it at Town Hall upstairs in our meeting room. And later on, I want to if this goes well, then I'd like maybe to try to move it to other areas, like maybe the library, if they'll give us a room, and other places where we can,
So it's a little more casual setting.
Yes.
It's not going to be you're not going to have full of council members. You're going to bring, who do you think you would have at the meeting?
Well, I would probably ask Matt to come and maybe our IT person so he can take notes and things. He's going to be our PR person, and probably maybe one councilman, because I don't want it to become a public meeting.
Right.
If you have three, then you got to advertise it as such and whatever. So
it's information gathering, in a way.
That's pretty much what it is, information gathering, and let people vent. A lot of people likes to vent, and maybe it's something that has nothing to do with Front Royal.
Well,
but at least
sometimes, people want to be heard, and I think that's true. So sit down and have coffee with Gene. I mean, that's pretty much what it's.
Pretty
much. Sit down across the table, just like we're doing here, and talking about these issues, and then you can, and maybe you can direct it and get the people going in the right direction.
And, we'll try it, and if it works, great, and we'll continue. But, again, if something would happen, then maybe we don't want to do it, but for 6 months at a time. But so we'll see. We'll see how it works out.
People like the dialogue, can't hurt. But it's good to bring up. You already know, you've done this in the past. It's amazing the information that people the knowledge that people have, and bring these ideas to. We've done these committees, and things in the past. And it's amazing the things that do come up. There's a lot of people. We got a lot of smart people in front.
We do. We got a lot of smart people, but we're not utilizing what we have.
Right.
When it comes to people coming to these meetings, we need people to help us. I mean, we may be smart in a lot of things, but we're not smart in all things. So what I lack in one thing, someone else can bring that forward, and then working together as a unit, because nothing ever gets accomplished unless you sit down and work together and work out differences. And when you do that, then everybody's trying to get on the same page, and I think we can do that if we work together.
Okay. Well, one last thing before we wrap this up, and that's about our town manager. We're looking. We have a search firm now.
We'll be approving a search committee. Let me say that again. Tonight, we're on our agenda at 6 o'clock. We're going to go in executive session and choose a group to go out and to get the information on new hires as far as the town manager. And hopefully we can get this out onto the street immediately. And hopefully we can get a person on staff, a new town manager, probably in 3 months or less.
Okay, that's good. I was going to ask what the time frame. You want to try to hurry this thing along.
I'd like to see us hurried along, because as long as after you've been out without a town manager, things just sort of gets bogged down to some degree, and we need someone there that's really going to be a pusher and hopefully that we get someone that'll really be a good person in the community, well liked in the community, and a person who wants to get things accomplished for the betterment of Front
So
Royal.
do you think the council's open to basically look anywhere and everywhere for someone?
Well, I think so. I think with the search committee, such as we're going to hire, and I'm not sure which one yet, but that committee will go nationwide, and I'm sure we'll do interviews with quite a few of them, and hopefully we'll pick the best one for Front Royal.
Well, Gene, I appreciate it. I know you have a short term this time. It's typically a 2-year term, but you've got a 1-year term. But you've done this before. You've been the mayor before. You've been on council quite a few years. You know where a lot of things are in town. You were the public works director for many years. So we appreciate the effort that you do. I mean, even though these are elected, these are really volunteer type positions in our town. I mean, it's not like a job, although it's a lot of work, isn't it?
A lot of work.
To do it right, it takes a lot of time.
It does. But the difference with me and others, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy meeting people. I like to talk to people about issues, and hopefully that I can continue to do that on my tenure as mayor.
Well, we appreciate it, and I know that it's a lot of work, and it doesn't. People need to step up. We've got
Exactly.
3 council seats coming up in the next election. So will be in November. Before you know it, you can actually get your packet out now if you think you have what it takes to be on town council or mayor. That seat's coming up again. So that election is this November. So if you have that bent and you want to be part of your community, let's step up and think about doing that.
That's true. Yes.
That's great. Well, again, appreciate it. Thanks again for
All right,
coming,
Mike.
Gene.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk again soon. We'll be at
Okay.
that first meeting,
All right.
and we'll keep an eye on what you're doing and share it with our listeners.
Good. I hope everything works out great.
Oh, it'll be great. I know it
think
will.
so.
It's great.
Yes, I do
Thanks
too.
again.
Thanks.